Okay, let's unpack this latest royal circus because, honestly, the timing and optics couldn't be worse for the Sussexes. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have jumped on yet another public cause, this time, an anti-AI superintelligence campaign, and the backlash has been immediate. Critics are calling it tone-deaf, ill-informed, and politically provocative, especially since it indirectly challenges the stance of Donald Trump's camp. So yes, the self-branded humanitarian power couple have decided to wade into a highly technical debate about artificial intelligence, alongside some serious experts, mind you, and they are being accused of doing it not out of conviction, but for relevance. Let's break down how this spiraled into a call for the Sussexes, and a few others, to lose their titles once and for all. Right now, the royal family is juggling scandals like spinning plates. You've got Prince Andrew, still living comfortably in his 40-room mansion despite public outrage, facing new parliamentary scrutiny about his finances and residence. There's King Charles, navigating both health issues and a growing chorus demanding decisive action on rogue royals. And of course, you've got Harry and Meghan, who somehow find a way to insert themselves into every global issue while insisting they've left royal life behind. Enter this week's headline: Prince Harry and Meghan join global call to ban AI superintelligence. Cue the collective eye roll. Critics, especially conservative commentators in the UK, are fuming. The sentiment is basically, what do they know about AI? And why are they poking their noses into international tech policy when they can't even manage their own PR? That's the tone that dominates this discussion, frustration mixed with disbelief. The feeling is that while the monarchy is trying to clean house, Harry and Meghan are off freelancing as pseudo-diplomats.
Breaking right now, new calls for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle to have their titles stripped, as well as Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson, as the Sussexes join an anti-AI celebrity campaign designed specifically to annoy Donald Trump's White House. Of course, this is something the duplicitous duo know nothing about, and I would argue that it's very bad timing, as pressure grows on the UK Parliament, King Charles, and Prince William to take action on all the wayward royals. Now, I believe this latest intervention from Harry and Meghan is exactly why their titles and their right to be called a prince and duchess must just go. Look at this. Prince Harry and Meghan join call for a ban on development of AI superintelligence. What the hell do they know about that? As Nancy Sidley rightly pointed out, actually, what Meghan Markle is doing lately is being reduced to catering events for D-list celebrities just to be invited to parties. To our royal YouTube sensation P. Diner now. P. Diner, look, the royal family is dealing with a massive crisis. And the Houses of Parliament in the United Kingdom today, Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, has for the first time, and he did so reluctantly, but back to call for some type of investigation into Prince Andrew regarding where he's living. So the idea that in this current climate, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle think this is a great idea for us to start lobbying against the White House position on artificial intelligence is insane. It's completely insane. Right now, all they should be doing is keeping their head down and saying nothing, because P. Diner, I would argue, don't just deal with Prince Andrew. You've got to do them all in one fell swoop.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think everything that Harry and Meghan try to do is they put their hands in so many different things. Meghan can't even decide on, what brand she has. She is so indecisive and so unclear about things in her own life. They should definitely keep their hands out of this, all the things that are going on now with Prince Andrew. And then, Harry and Meghan pulling all this in now. It's just making things more chaotic. They need to really just be quiet and focus on your family, your life, because it's already in a shambles, let alone trying to now put your hand in this AI superintelligence. It just shows how unclear and how unguided they are with everything. And it just makes chaos, I think, for the royal family now to have to deal with, to be quite honest.
And P. Diner, when you think of the fact that it feels almost inevitable that the Prince Andrew situation is not going to end at him just voluntarily walking away and saying, oh, I'm just not going to use my HRH. I'm not going to refer to myself as the Duke of York, because we know, don't we? We know from contemporaneous evidence in terms of Harry and Meghan that that's what they might say to get through the storm, but then they do continue to use the titles. I mean, Meghan has been commercialising the Duchess of Sussex title now for years, despite the fact she told the late Queen Elizabeth II she would never do that. And we also know she's using the HRH title in private correspondence too. So I don't have any trust when Andrew says, oh, don't worry, I'm not going to use these things, because one day he will want to. So even though it's very risky, right, for the court to start getting involved for the Parliament to start getting involved in this, Prince William's plan is that there could just be one letters patent, one bill, and it would deal with Andrew, it would deal with Beatrice and Eugenie, it would deal with Meghan and Harry, but also critically, P. Dinah, it would deal with Archie and Lily too. And I know that King Charles, who, by the way, has arrived in Rome and is meeting the Pope tomorrow, and he wants all of the focus to be on that. And I obviously have deep sympathies for what he's going through in terms of his health. But what I am just going to be very clear on, P. Dinah, is until that action is taken, the action your son wants is taken, your reign is going to be completely overshadowed. Because if it's not a new revelation about Prince Andrew, P. Dinah, it's going to be new, appalling behaviour from Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. And then what happens when Archie and Lily, who've never stepped foot as anything other than babies, start turning up on social media and making comments? They can't be in the line of succession. They can't be prince and princess at that point. So I just think William has got this right, and I think Charles is being very naive in terms of his handling of this. And I say that as someone who has sympathies for what he's going.
Commentators argue that the Sussexes' involvement in this campaign is part of a pattern. Meghan, they say, can't seem to pick a lane, her branding ventures have been erratic, and her public advocacy often feels performative rather than purposeful. She's gone from gender equality to climate change to COVID awareness to racial justice to now AI policy. It's like every global talking point gets a quick Markle makeover. But this one feels different, and riskier, because it touches on US politics. The letter they co-signed takes a direct stance against big tech's race to develop superintelligence, aligning the Sussexes with figures like Steve Bannon, Glenn Beck, and Richard Branson. It's a strange coalition, to say the least. The optics? Confusing. The motivation? Questionable. When Harry added a personal note, the future of AI should serve humanity, not replace it, critics pounced. His statement was seen as shallow, maybe even embarrassing, considering he's not exactly a tech scholar. The subtext of the criticism: stick to what you know, and maybe get your own life in order before telling Silicon Valley how to run the world. Now, here's where this seemingly small story becomes a much bigger deal. British commentators are saying this is exactly why Harry and Meghan should lose their royal titles. Royalty, by design, is supposed to be politically neutral. When the Duke and Duchess of Sussex attach their HH-infused names to partisan or controversial causes, especially ones that appear to target a former US president, they drag the monarchy into global political crossfire. The conversation has since widened. Should King Charles strip not only Harry and Meghan, but also Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson, of their titles? There's even talk of extending that to Princess Beatrice and Eugenie, and yes, even Archie and Lilibet, who technically hold princely titles through the 1917 letters patent issued by George V. The idea is that a single legal document, a new letters patent, could clean up the royal brand in one go. In the eyes of those pushing for reform, it's overdue. One of the most interesting dynamics here is the generational split between Prince William and King Charles. William reportedly supports a more ruthless approach, one clean sweep that would permanently detach the monarchy from scandal or controversy. Charles, on the other hand, is being portrayed as too hesitant, too cautious, and perhaps too emotional when it comes to his son. There's genuine sympathy for the king, especially given his health struggles and the stress that comes with reigning during constant media chaos. But critics argue that his reluctance to act decisively is destabilizing the institution he's supposed to protect. One commentator summed it up like this: Charles doesn't want to be the bad guy. He fears that punishing Meghan will be framed as racist or cruel, especially in the US, where racial optics dominate the Sussex narrative. So, he's stalling, and by doing so, he's letting the entire royal brand look weak. In contrast, William is seen as ready to lead with a firmer hand. Observers predict that when he becomes king, he won't hesitate to make hard calls. The subtext: Charles is too soft, William will clean house.
And I think he is in a position now where, he really should be focusing more, of course, on his health and allowing others to, William, to really make these kinds of decisions more streamlined to what the king would want, because he is not in a position, I believe, to even deal with this. I think it compromises his health even more because these kinds of decisions do affect your health. And you want to protect the future of the monarchy, and having such indecisive decisions and not really being in a position physically to make the hard decision just compromises the institution. And I just don't understand why you don't make that the priority when that is what your job is to do as the king. The country, the monarchy, the crown is going to be destabilized, I believe, by all these indecisive things that look like you've made a choice, but they're not really concrete choices that are, very aligned with what needs to happen. It's comical. It's not even real. Like what? He's just now Prince Andrew instead. It it to me it compromises everything and it makes it a joke. And I just want William to really make the decisions that he needs to make. And I also think that part of the reason that the king is so indecisive is because he doesn't want to look like the bad guy when it does come to Harry and Meghan because of all the race things. I do think race plays an issue in it with Meghan
Yes.
because they don't want to look like they're taking something away from this black girl. Because trust me, in America, they will make it about race, even though we know it's not. They have to be very careful. So I think aligning the decisions around the crown or the titles with what happens to Eugenie, Beatrice, and Andrew Fergie, like make it a big pool of people that are going to have the same things happen to them,
Exactly. Because
you
then it's
know?
not just about your brother, and it's also not just about your black daughter-in-law or your mixed-race daughter-in-law. And,
Right.
and and the thing is, Pete Diner, look, I do completely hear what you're saying, and I do understand what you mean, and I'm sure the woke mob would absolutely weaponize it. In saying that, I would
Mhm.
argue that's really hard to do with King Charles. I mean, he literally walked
Mhm.
this woman down the aisle. Do you know what I mean? When she
Yeah,
decided to leave her own father in Mexico.
but they would still, yeah, because for them, they only see race.
True.
Even if you point out things around, well, he walked her down the aisle, and they would say, well, he had to, or he did that to save face or whatever. They will come up with something, right? They will definitely make it about race. I mean, I don't think that
They will. And,
um
and this is where, though, I think there needs to be a sense of ruthlessness. And what's
yes.
little bit frustrating for me is that William is prepared to be ruthless, right? And he will be ruthless when he's king. So Charles, at this point, could play a bit of a strategic game here and sort of say, "Look, I'm focusing on my cancer treatment. My son is," and I'm not saying he would say this publicly, P. Diner, but it could be briefed. My
Mhm.
son is taking the lead because, of course, he's working on this project about what the future of the monarchy is going to look like. I
Mhm.
endorse what he's doing, but of course, I continue to love my son and my
Mhm.
brother. It would make
Yeah.
so much sense. It would honestly make so much sense. And as you say, if they're all in there as one big pool of people, then it is much harder to make this about race or make this about victimhood. But of course, we know this is one of the reasons why Harry was so desperate to be face to face with Charles, because he's emotionally blackmailing him. He's guilt tripping him because
Mhm.
it is their absolute worst nightmare to lose the titles. And remember, Meghan has even said of Archie and Lily, it's their birthright. And it's like, well, it's only their birthright because of what George V did back in 1917, I think it was.
Right.
And, the world is about to move on. And the fact that you think that you can raise your children in Montecito to be little Americans who don't even return to the United Kingdom because you think we're such an unsafe hellhole, it's delusional. Of course they shouldn't have titles.
They should not have titles. I mean, make the hard decisions. That's what you are there to do. I mean, I don't understand how you can be in such a high position and waver on like making the decisions that you're in the position to do. Like that's what you need to do. Meghan, I'm telling you, this woman needs to be put in her place. And the fact that you now have this whole issue with Andrew, hey, it's kind of a blessing. Hey, let's make some decisions right now. This is the time to do it.
100%.
I mean, what happens if you wait?
Use this as an opportunity because trust me, P. Dunny, I'm here in London and I'm very tapped into what's going on at the moment. And the drumbeat coming from Westminster and even coming from Buckingham Palace, P. Dinah, is that it's just going to be impossible for Charles to not take further action against Andrew. And so do it all now. Do it all now. And look, partly because Harry and Meghan are going to keep on embarrassing you and they're going to keep on embarrassing the country. And Pete, I've got to come to this artificial intelligence thing, right? Because they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. Yeah. The background to this is that it's something that Trump doesn't really want to happen. He's with the tech giants. And so Harry and Meghan, and this is from the AP, so let me just take you through it because it's a little bit complicated, but Prince Harry and Meghan have joined prominent computer scientists, economists, artists, evangelical Christian leaders, and American conservative commentators Steve Bannon and Glenn Beck to call for a ban on AI superintelligence that threatens humanity. The letter released Wednesday by a politically and geographically diverse group of public figures is squarely aimed at tech giants like Google, OpenAI, and Meta platforms that are racing each other to build a form of artificial intelligence designed to surpass humans at many tasks. The letter calls for a ban unless some conditions are met. So this is a 30-word statement. We call for a prohibition on the development of superintelligence not lifted before there is broad scientific consensus that it will be done safely and controllably and strong public buy-in. In a preamble, the letter notes that AI tools may bring health and prosperity, but alongside those tools, many leading AI companies have the stated goal of building superintelligence in the coming decade that can outperform all humans. Now, Harry, though, P. Dinah, wasn't just happy to leave it at that and sign his name. He added a personal note. Now, remember, Harry's the dunce, right? Harry shouldn't have passed any of his school exams if he hadn't had favourable treatment at Eton, okay? But he's decided to weigh in and say, the future of AI should serve humanity, not replace it. I believe the true test of progress will be not how fast we move, but how wisely we steer. There is no second chance. Now, the hilarious thing about this, P. Dinah, is he signed this alongside people like AI pioneers Joshua Bendigo and Jeremy Hinton, co-winners of the Turing Award, which was the top prize for computer science. Hinton, who won a Nobel Prize last year. People who really know about these types of things. Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak, British billionaire Richard Branson. And my point, P. Dinah, is butt out. You know nothing about this. This is all about your own war against the social media companies, which is all just designed to shut down people, P. Dinah, like you and me. They just don't want us to comment on them, right? They do not want us to criticize them. And we've seen how much lawfare they're going to try and use in terms of silencing the British press. The way to silence people like us is to target big tech. So I don't believe for a single moment that Harry and Meghan know a thing about AI superintelligence. This is just a way to bash the big tech companies to try and achieve their censorship goal. But also, it's not the role for people who hold royal titles, for goodness sake.
One recurring thread throughout this debate is the uncomfortable issue of race. Pundits openly acknowledge that the palace is walking on eggshells around Meghan because they don't want to trigger accusations of racism. Even though Charles famously walked Meghan down the aisle, a gesture meant to symbolize acceptance, there's a lingering fear that any disciplinary action will be weaponized as proof of racial bias. That's why some advisors suggest a bundle approach. Don't just punish Harry and Meghan. Also include Andrew, Beatrice, Eugenie, and even Fergie in one comprehensive reform. That way, the palace can say, this isn't about race, it's about modernizing the monarchy. Strategically, that makes sense. But morally and politically, it's still a minefield. Meghan's American defenders would absolutely frame title stripping as a racist backlash, no matter how diplomatically it's presented. The irony in all this? While critics say Harry and Meghan should lay low, they keep popping up everywhere: podcasts, conferences, advocacy campaigns, even Hollywood events. Meghan is reportedly trying to reinvent her personal brand, again, while Harry is writing essays and giving speeches on topics that are, frankly, out of his depth. And this new AI crusade fits that same pattern, trying to appear globally relevant while staying personally aggrieved. They claim to want privacy and peace, but they can't stop speaking out. The result is a confusing brand that's neither royal nor fully independent. It's why so many are saying, if you want to live like activists, fine, but stop using royal titles as a microphone. Adding fuel to the fire is the ongoing royal website scandal. Despite all the supposed distance between the Sussexes and the firm, Harry and Meghan still appear on the official royal family website. They are listed as though they are still part of the institution, something critics call a disgrace and embarrassing oversight. The argument goes like this: as long as they are on that site, they look officially sanctioned. That gives them credibility with US media and corporate partners, who see them as half-in, half-out royals, and therefore more valuable. In other words, by not removing them, the monarchy is inadvertently funding their relevance. This is why commentators keep hammering Charles for weakness. They argue that the king is obsessed with optics and emotional unity, while his inaction only emboldens those undermining him. Now, let's pivot to Prince Andrew, because his situation perfectly illustrates what's wrong with Charles's leadership right now. After years of public disgrace over his association with Jeffrey Epstein, Andrew has reportedly relinquished his Duke of York title. Sounds dramatic, right? But in reality, it's a PR stunt. He's still Prince Andrew, still living in luxury at Royal Lodge, and still drawing on royal privileges. Critics are calling it a mockery of accountability. Social media voices have been blunt. That's not punishment, that's rebranding. And because Charles hasn't followed through with real consequences, it makes him look either complicit or incapable of handling his family. The public perception? The monarchy is playing symbolic musical chairs instead of real reform.
This is part of the problem with Harry and Meghan still being attached on the website to the royal family. Like, they are emboldened because to the Americans, to these tech giants, they essentially have the backing of the royal family to, vouch for the voices of Harry and Meghan because they're still attached to the crown, right? So Harry and Meghan, putting their 2 cents into this is somewhat validated by that. I'm sorry to say it, but to me, that's what it feels like. And also, what Harry and Meghan have done in the past, and we've seen it, they attach themselves to whatever the current movement is. When we had the Black Lives Matter, they were doing things around Black Lives Matter. When we had COVID, they were trying to put their 2 cents in around COVID. And now this, because their self-interest, their whole existence relies on relevance. And so they want to be attached to anything that's about the relevance of the people, but really with self-serving interests. They're not thinking really about the people, nor should they. They have no people. They have no connection to us in terms of, what their decisions are and, how that affects the American or people in general. So why are they even being allowed to even tap into this like they have any relevance? And this is why I hate to go back to it, but the king, they need to do something about Harry and Meghan, because that's what they will continue to do, because they're about serving themselves and helping themselves make money, because they are about whatever the new thing is, they want to be a part of it and be relevant around it. And they have no experience. They have no knowledge. They can't even control their own lives, like I said, with Meghan and her brand. So why are they even putting out a statement? That shows you that they will take anything that they can in connection to the royal family to find relevance, because they want to put their noses in everything, even though they don't have the experience. They don't even have the background to be able to say anything around superintelligence. It just makes me so upset that nothing, absolutely nothing, has been done to curtail this couple, to like slow your roll, get in your lane. You have no need to be commenting about any of this stuff. The royal family should be outraged that there was even a statement put out by these two wackadoos. What are they doing? It's senseless.
It's interesting you mentioned the royal website, P. Diner, because there's quite a lot of outrage actually about this. Let me show you what the Office of Indy posted. This is disgraceful, and according to Taz added, they only removed the title of Duke, but not the man. So these three are still on the working royals part of the website, as in they still look as though they represent the Crown, the UK, and the Commonwealth. Sorry, but this is an epic misstep. All of them need removing. And again, P. Diner, this just feels like weakness to me. Yes, it's an awkward conversation to have, but why are they on the website?
Right. It like I said, that just emboldens them. They know nothing is going to happen. They're on the website. They're validated by being on that website. They're emboldened to make statements, to put out things to show that they still have relevance. They're connected still to the monarchy, even though what Meghan doesn't want to ever step foot again in the UK, right? Like your connection to the monarchy is null in existence. So why are you being made to appear like you do have relevance and that you have a voice behind the royal family when we know what the truth is in your connection to the monarchy? It's making, I think, the monarchy a mockery. It's make the bold decisions that were made by other royal families, right? That there wasn't there a queen that took away the titles of her grandchildren. Like you need to do that because the future of the monarchy is dependent on these tough decisions. It really is because they will make themselves relevant in America, and the people of America will take them to be relevant as long as nothing is done because they do have their supporters, right? Meghan is very tenacious. She's going to do any and everything she can to make her voice heard. As long as her voice isn't being stifled by those in the monarchy, she's going to run with it and do whatever she can. That should be very frightening to the monarchy.
Big time. And look, there is criticism that is coming towards King Charles over this. Canal Citadel, who I have a lot of respect for, speaking about the royal website situation on X, wrote, when people get tired of being taken for donkeys by King Charles, they will start opening their eyes and realizing there is no long game. All King Charles does is smoke and mirrors. He always says what people want to hear to avoid backlash, but never follows through in a substantial manner because he is simply not interested in fixing any issues when he can leave them to William to deal with. So truly what happened over the week is that Andrew relinquished the Duke of York title in exchange for him keeping all his royal privileges and luxurious lifestyles. Andrew gets to live in his 40-room mansion without any legal punishment. His punishment is that he now gets to be called simply Prince Andrew. Oh, the punishment. Please, may I be punished like this in life? Please, what a mockery. King Charles is making a mockery of the monarchy. So, can you understand that, P. Diner?
Absolutely. I mean, you have people saying it loud and clear what it looks like. And I think more than ever with social media, the people are able to voice their opinions. Listen to them. I don't know who the people are that are around the king and, the royal family or I mean the institution, but you've got a great thing here with social media and people voicing their opinions. You're being given the green light. Hey, go do something now. If you're afraid of not having the people behind you, that's not the case here. The majority of people feel like this, and I don't understand why action hasn't been taken already. It just shows how cowardice they are. It really is not a good thing. It definitely gives me a second look at the institution. It's like what?
Back to Meghan, because no royal debate seems complete without dissecting her motives. One of the more intriguing, and frankly entertaining, detours in this discussion comes from Nikki Priddy, a childhood friend of Meghan's. She recently resurfaced online, confirming that yes, those old photos of her and Meghan posing outside Buckingham Palace are real. Apparently, Some conspiracy theorists had started claiming they were fake. Why does that matter? Because it reinforces the narrative that Meghan's fascination with royalty isn't new. Critics see her entire journey, from starlet to duchess to California activist, as one long, calculated climb toward power and prestige. Pretty's re-emergence reminded everyone that Meghan has always wanted this life. It wasn't a fairy tale surprise, it was a long-term ambition. That context fuels the argument that her current activism is just another form of self-promotion, not service. Something else that keeps coming up in these conversations is the cultural clash between how Britain and America view the Sussexes. In the UK, they are widely seen as hypocritical, narcissistic, and opportunistic. In the US, however, they still have defenders who see them as victims of royal snobbery and media bullying. That tension makes every decision from Buckingham Palace twice as complicated. If Charles moves against them, American outlets will likely frame it as retaliation against an independent biracial woman who spoke her truth. If he does nothing, Brits will see him as spineless. It's a lose-lose situation, but one critic say he can't afford to avoid any longer. So, what's really at stake here? It's not just about AI policy or whether Meghan gets invited to fancy galas. It's about the credibility of the crown itself. Every time Harry and Meghan issue a global statement or appear at an event as the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, they blur the line between royal neutrality and political activism. They turn royal symbolism into a brand asset, something that was never meant to happen. If Charles doesn't act soon, this blurred line could permanently change public expectations of what royals can and can't do. That's why voices like Dan Wootton, Piers Morgan, and other royal commentators are pushing so hard for decisive action now, while Charles still has time to define his reign. Because if he doesn't, William will. And when William does, it'll look like a rebuke of his father as much as a correction of the Sussexes. At the heart of all this chaos is a clash between brand and duty. Harry and Meghan are running a personal PR empire, slick, emotional, and rooted in grievance. The royal family, by contrast, is supposed to represent continuity, restraint, and collective responsibility. The two can't coexist indefinitely. The AI campaign might seem trivial, but symbolically, it's the tipping point, proof that the Sussexes will always leverage their titles to amplify personal agendas, even if it drags the monarchy into controversy. And that's why the drumbeat for title removal is getting louder. The monarchy doesn't just need to protect its reputation, it needs to protect its meaning. When royals start acting like influencers, the entire institution becomes performative. And if Charles continues to hesitate, he risks leaving William a monarchy that feels more like a Netflix plotline than a constitutional pillar.
You're not going to do anything. It's senseless. It's crazy. It just infuriates me. I just hope William, which I believe he will, make these hard decisions. You have to, because the future depends on it.
P. Diner, Nananki Priddy, someone who comes up every now and then, very close friend in the past of Meghan Markle, including a teenage friend. Now, she has popped up on X, and you've been engaging with her, actually, because she posted after some criticism of accounts like The Royal Grift. According to some, I'm not me, which begs the question, who's been living my memories? You replied saying she is who she says she is. Now let's stop all the drama. So, Pete Diner, can you explain this to me? Because I'm very confused. Is there now this idea that in some ways these pictures of Nananki Priddy and Meghan Markle, which include them posing outside Buckingham Palace, is there a suggestion that those pictures were in some way fake?
Apparently so, and I don't understand why it's so hard to believe that this is real. And to go back, she grew up with Meghan since like they were, I think, 2 years old. This girl knew Meghan very well. Nanaki knew her very well. They grew up together. This story has been put into books with like Tom Bower. Like these are well-researched stories that they did go to the United Kingdom. There's claims that they never even went to the United Kingdom. And there's no fake photo from that time. I mean, yes, we have that now, But there's no way these are fake photos. I think what's happened, Dan, are people are suspicious of Nanaki because they think she might be covertly still working with Megan to undermine, certain things. But Nanaki, we know, has revealed a lot of things that are very damaging to Megan. Megan is not in contact with Nanaki. I actually spoke face to face with Nanaki. I speak with her on social media. I know it's her 100%. So if you need validation that she is who she says she is, then believe what I'm saying to you, that she is who she says she is. And she is not trying to work with the Sussex squad and trying to do all these things secretly with Megan. It's senseless. I think people are so caught up in what's happening with the Sussex squad and with Megan, that they think there's these undercover things happening now with her childhood friend. It is ridiculous. I have spoken with Nanaki and I've seen her talk with me, okay? That is so ridiculous to me that they're making drama now out of all of this. Stay focused on the issues at hand and stop trying to make drama out of something that's not there. There's nothing there with her. She is who she says she is.
Harry and Meghan's AI activism feels opportunistic and politically reckless. King Charles's inaction is feeding perceptions of weakness. Prince William is emerging as the decisive, no-nonsense reformer waiting in the wings. The monarchy's credibility depends on drawing a clear line between royal titles and personal brand building. And unless that happens soon, the Harry and Meghan problem will evolve into something far larger, a full-blown identity crisis for the crown itself. So, what do you guys think? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read them all. And if you enjoyed this royal deep dive, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a drop of royal reality.